This soup is supposed to be served cold? This soup is supposed to be served cold. Why would I serve soup cold on purpose? This cucumber cooler soup from Campbell's vintage 1968 Cooking with Soup cookbook clearly says that this is supposed to be refrigerated for 4 hours and served in a chilled bowl, which this immediately raises questions and eyebrows. At what point does cold soup then fall into a cold beverage category? Why don't we see cold soup recipes in newer cookbooks? And was this just a marketing ploy, or was this recipe really just getting ahead of the kitchen? I have questions. This Campbell's 1968 Cooking with Soup cookbook dedicated a whole section for frosty soups. And yes, let me get there so I can show you exactly what I'm talking about. So, yep. Y'all see that? Frosty soups. Now, this wasn't a very big section, but it caught my eye because I don't think of soup as frosty. I'm thinking more warm and, stick to the ribs kind of soups. But cold soups isn't actually a new idea. Not even at this time. Not even back in 1968. And Campbell's actually gives a little narrative of a history of how cold soups became. And they date it back to the 17th century. And it says, cold soups were made fashionable back in the 17th century for a very practical reason. Each of the king's dishes was tasted by several people before it came to him. The monarch grew tired of lukewarm soup and requested tasty cold soups instead. So cold soup started out as something that was very intentional, but was also thought of as being very elegant. Long before Campbell's put a cold soup recipe in their cookbook, cold soups belonged to fine dining. And you could find it on the menu at the Ritz-Carlton in New York. Usually they were served in small portions and garnished, and really just meant to impress. They weren't comforting, they were refined. By the middle of the 20th century, the idea of cold soups had made its way into American home kitchens, but of course with a twist. In the 1950s and 60s, cookbooks weren't just teaching home cooks new recipes, they were also teaching them how to entertain and host and impress. How to look modern without spending all day in the kitchen. And cold soups fit perfectly into that little world. You could make it ahead of time. You didn't have to spend any time over a hot stove, especially during the summer months. And when you served it, it felt intentional. Felt a little fancy, maybe a little European too. And that's where this cookbook comes in. Campbell's wasn't just selling soups, they were selling possibilities. The idea that one can could become a casserole, a sauce, or something you served to your guests cold. I don't know how exciting this cucumber cooler soup would be on its own, but when you make it frosty, it adds to a whole nother level. It creates and separates itself into its own course. It's foolproof convenience that still feels elegant. But here's the question I keep coming back to, or questions I keep coming back to. Was cold soup actually something that the family was going to eat, or was it more so just to impress? Because today when I think of soup, I'm thinking of like warm, hearty, comforting, cozy, something that's going to stick to the ribs and make you feel grounded. Cold soup doesn't really fit into that space. So even before we taste this, I feel the tension. Was this a clever way to serve soup? Or was this a marketing ploy that got a little ahead of itself and ahead of its time? Let's make it and find out. Okay, so here's the ingredients. We'll need 1 can of cream of celery soup, 1 small cucumber or 1 cup of chopped, 1 cup of cold milk, Tabasco sauce, but I'm using Louisiana hot, salt and pepper, and 1 cup of sour cream. Okay, so this is going to come together really fast. So the period that's going to take the longest is refrigerating it. So cookbook says we're going to combine the soup, milk, cucumber, Tabasco sauce, and seasonings into an electric blender. Blend for 2 minutes, and then we'll stir in the sour cream. So let me set that aside so I don't get that in there. And then we're going to place it in the refrigerator for 4 hours, and then we'll serve in chilled bowls. So I guess I need to also put the bowls in the fridge. All right, let's make some room. Let me set this back here. Okay. Make some room over here so we can bring the blender. So I have that right here. And then we're going to need another measuring cup. One cup. All right. So let's start with the soups. Soups, cream of celery. Okay. Very creamy. Smells vaguely like celery. Okay, and then 1 cup of milk. Okay. Get that out of the way. Get this out of the way. Don't worry, I won't leave it out too long. This is going to come together really quick. So then we have our cup of diced cucumbers. There we go. Now you can see the top of this. Okay. And then a dash of Tabasco. Okay. Don't want to overdo it. And then a dash of salt. A dash of pepper, or a couple dashes, and then we'll save the sour cream for later. So let's mix this up real quick. I'm gonna clean off my gear here. This actually goes into the machine, or the blender part. Okay. That seems counterproductive. All right, Ninja. All right, so I'm just gonna blend it back here. Hopefully you can still see me. Now, it says that we're gonna blend this for 2 minutes. That seems like a long time, but I will go ahead and start a timer. This is definitely going to be a soup. 2 minutes. And go. Time. 2 minutes. Let's see what we got. I don't know why I was thinking this was going to be green, but it is not. I did notice that while it was mixing, the longer it mixed, the puffier the soup got. I don't know if that makes sense. It has a very odd smell. I really like it. Kind of smells like celery, more celery than cucumber, but okay, so I'm just gonna put this lid back on, throw it in the refrigerator, and then I'll come back in 4 hours and we'll taste it. Yay! Okay, well, welcome back. I've gotten everything out of the fridge. We've been chilling for about 4 hours. So we're gonna get this plated, and my plan, since it's supposed to be iced, I chilled this in the fridge with this, and then I have some ice. So I'm just gonna put it around the bowl. I guess a little bit. Okay. That doesn't say cold on purpose. I don't know what is. Okay, so the other part of this is that we were supposed to stir in a cup of sour cream. So let's do that. Whew. I'm just eyeballing a cup here. Okay, stir that in. I don't think it talks about garnishments for this in here. Yeah, stir in. Oh, I messed that up. I was supposed to blend for 2 minutes, stir this in, then put it in the fridge, which honestly makes more sense. Okay, I'm gonna get a bit of a whisk. See if I can't get that broke up in there. Okay, that looks better. So, there you go. I'm just gonna pour it in here. I don't need to get too crazy. Do some garnishments. This is just parsley. I don't know if cucumber and parsley go together, but I thought it would look pretty. So here is my soup. All right. I am, got my spoon. I am nervously excited about this cold soup. So it is thick. I don't know if you can see that. Like it's kind of thick. Oh. 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 I don't like that. I don't like that at all. It's first I got hit with the sour cream. Maybe that's because I didn't let it, I didn't stir it in after it was mixed, and then I got punched in the face with the celery and just a real faint hint of cucumber in the background. Mostly salty. Okay, I'm just gonna do a little bit. Ugh, I can't do it. It is foamy in texture, tart, and a lot of celery. and just a hint of cucumber and salty. I'll be honest, I don't think I'll be trying cold soup in the near future again. It does present well. I mean, it does look aesthetically pleasing. It looks very fancy. But I don't think I'd make this again. And I know for sure 100% my family is not going to eat this, and so it will not go into the family recipe book. If you like exploring recipes with me on a quest to find the recipes and meals that your family will eat, come on back. We have plenty of more to explore. But until then, keep your pans hot, your knives sharp, and I'll see you back in the kitchen.